Hey everyone, so this is going to be a short video, and in this video we're going to be looking at a toggle switch. So this is where we use conditions like a light switch, for example, where you turn a switch on and it stays on, and the things that happen like the light turning on stay on for as long as the switch is on. But we only need to interact with it once to turn it on. Same with turning it off. So far, we've got an example here of the kinds of things we've been using conditions for so far, which has usually been, here I'm clicking that button and I'm holding it, and I'm letting go of that button. I'm clicking that button and holding it. So far we've looked at how to use conditions to make things happen whilst something is happening over and over again. So for example, whilst the mouse is pressed and my mouse is above here, which is less than 50 on the y-axis, it will do something. But I wanted to replicate this, so still having this as a button, but only have it happen once. We only have to interact with it once to turn it on, and the animation will happen. So this is what the code looks like for now. So if my mouse Y is less than 50 and my mouse is pressed, then this is happening. Else, so when that's not true, this is happening. So this is only happening whilst my mouse is being pressed down. During the draw, 60 times a second, it's constantly checking and it'll happen for that time. To do a toggle, we don't necessarily want it to be in the draw because we only need to toggle the button once. So when you turn the light switch on, imagine that you only need to push it once, it'll turn on, push it again and it'll turn off. So the draw might not be the best place for us to work. We actually potentially want to use here the mouse pressed. So you can use this mouse pressed function that we've seen before. There's another function called mouse released you could also use, but either of those only happen once during the pressing of the mouse. The mouse pressed function happens at the beginning once, so it doesn't matter for as long as we hold our mouse down, this function will only execute once. So we still want to keep all of this text here because we still want this to be on and off. So when the button's on, this happens. When the button's off, this happens. But we're not going to do this test inside of this condition. So what we actually need to create is a variable called button. Let's call it toggle switch for now. And we can set it to be false. So false and true and false are booleans. It's the kind of data. It was named after some guy who kind of came up with a concept called, his name was Boolean. But ultimately the switch we're going to set false, and then when we turn it on, it'll be true. And so we're starting at false, so the switch is turned off. But we want to say if toggle switch is equal to true. So two equal signs checks to see if something is equal to something else. It compares the value. So we're saying if the switch is on, then we do this. Else, so the switch is off, we do that. Another way to write this, a shorthand way, so if you ever see it, is here. When something's a boolean, you can just say if toggle switch. So that means if toggle switch is true. And if you want to see if it's false, you do an exclamation mark if not toggle switch, so if not true. But for now, let's just keep it here, so we are just learning. So if toggle switch is true, we're going to do this, and if it's false, let's do this. So if it's on or off. So that's the same as before. The same stuff happens when the switch is on and off, but now what we need to do is we need to turn the switch on and off. So in this mouse pressed area, we're going to see if mouse is pressed, so we're in this function, and mouse X is less than 50. Okay. So this happens once when our mouse is pressed. We go in, we see if we're less than 50, so we're in that area. If that's true, we can put another condition, if and else. So if toggle switch is equal to true, then we can make toggle switch equal false. else we can make toggle switch equal true. So what this says is when we press the mouse, if our mouse is in that button area, and if the toggle switch is true, so it's on, then make it off. Else, make the toggle switch on. So if it's off, then make it on. And if we save that and we come back here, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to click in this area and the switch will come on. Oh, something I forgot. Sorry about that. Whoops. Switch. Okay. I think my computer is going a bit slow here. It should be working. I'm going to try running this again. Okay, it's not working. So I'm going to debug this. Sorry about this. Errors happen to me too. Go to my console. Okay, doesn't seem to be an error. Mouse pressed. I'm going to print something here. Okay, it's printing out. I'll print something here. Ah, okay. That's not working. Mouse X is less than 50. Oh, it's supposed to be mouse Y. I'm sorry about that. Okay, hopefully you fast forwarded through that problem, but see, I make mistakes as well. I didn't decide to stop, so let's just see this work. So just to remind you, if mouse Y is less than 50, if the toggle switch is on, turn the toggle switch off, else turn the toggle switch on. This then controls what the switch is doing. So if the switch is on, do this, else if the switch is off, do that. And let's see that working. So now it's moving, I've clicked it once, and I click it again, it stops. It's moving, it's on, it's off. It's on, it's off. So you can actually set up these switches however you like, and they're pretty much the same for each. So all you need is one area that checks if the switch is true, and you switch it, then make it off, else make it on. So one area that turns the switch on and off, and one area that does something if the switch is on and off. You don't necessarily need it to be a mouse pressed. You could say animate a circle, and then the circle goes over a certain point, and that turns the switch on that makes other things happen. But a common way it's used is just for clicking a toggle switch on and off. So there you go. Hopefully that was helpful, and I'm sorry about the little pause there whilst I was figuring out my error. But yeah, you should see some more videos soon, and let me know if you need any more help.